to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to change the way the world eats. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance coach, and just someone with a lot of passion to help you to learn how to use nutrition as a precise tool to feel, look, and do your absolute best. Guys, today I'm very excited because we have a guest on Food School podcast, and a guest who might potentially prolong your life if you follow some of the tips and advice that we're gonna introduce on this show. Today we have Sergey Young on Food School podcast. He is a longevity investor and visionary with a mission to extend healthy lifespans of at least 1 billion people. To do that, Sergey founded a longevity vision fund to accelerate life extension technological breakthroughs and to make longevity affordable and accessible to all. Sergey is on the board of directors of the American Federation of Aging Research and the development sponsor of Age Reversal X Prize, global competition designed to cure aging. Sergey is also a top 100 longevity leader who is transforming the world one workplace at a time with Longevity at Work, the first non-profit corporate longevity program of its kind. Sergey Young has been featured as a top longevity expert and contributor on CNN, Fox News, and Forbes. As the author of books such as The Science and Technology of Growing Young and the mastermind behind the online life extension platform, 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐞, Sergey is passionate about sharing news from the exciting world of longevity. Stay tuned for this life-prolonging episode of Food School podcast. Welcome to the show, Sergey Young. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for accepting my invitation to share your mission, your vision, your passion, your knowledge with our listeners today. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Angela. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And you're right, we're sharing the same passion, health and longevity.
Yes, that's why, my Instagram handle, 1000 year young, plan to live a long, healthy life.
Yeah, we have this inflation of people wanted to live longer. So when I thought I'm going to be using 150 years, then I thought it's not really round numbers. So I went to 200 actually, which pushed me to invent another horizon of longevity innovation, like world of avatars, human brain, AI integration, nanobots, Internet of Bodies as well. But there's certainly inflation happening in the world, not only in our economy, but also in terms of our life expectancy aspirations.
I think it's all the developments, they make us dream bigger. And that's why I loved your book. You read it about all these technologies and innovations in longevity and health sector, and it makes you dream and look into different opportunities that are possible today and going to be possible in the near future.
That was exactly, sorry to interrupt you. That was exactly the purpose behind the book, just for all of us to be able to literally change our inspirations and aspirations, resetting our life goals and recognizing we're all going to be living longer or much, much longer than we expect.
Yes. Like in a lot of, areas, the progress is usually exponential. First, it's a little bit, and then everything starts to just accelerate technologies and then application to our lives and all the areas of development. So, but let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this longevity sector? How did you develop this passion for longevity and develop your mission to help 1 billion people at least to live longer and healthier lives?
Okay, so the unfortunate reality, our path to health and longevity almost always start with the personal health crisis. Like 80 or even 90% of the people whom I know face something really bad happening with their own health or with health of their loved ones. Okay, so I had this. I had actually two personal health crises. One is lung cancer case of my father back in 2005. He's alive, but the quality of his life has never recovered. And then for me, it was back to 2014 when I realized that I have extremely high cholesterol level. I actually turned to be that I'm genetically predisposed to that. But at this time, I had a choice to, and it's not dramatic, like 40% of the people in developed world are suffering from the same problem. So I'm not trying to say that's was like a tragedy, but it was a turning point for me. And then, so I had a choice to live on medication every day for the rest of my life. And at this time, I thought I'm going to be living another 40 years. Right now, just another 150. But, or to change my relationship with health, take back responsibility for my own health and lifestyle. And it was with pretty simple lifestyle changes like a diet, supplementation, exercise, that I achieved the goal of decreasing my cholesterol level. I mean, cholesterol story is a complicated one, but without going into details of that, it was literally a trigger for my interest into world of human biology, how our lifestyle choices and dietary choices change ourselves. And it was the biggest impact opportunity that I've seen in my life in terms of changing the life, health, level of happiness of people around me. And so then I thought, okay, I'm going to change life of 1 million people. Remember, like Austin Powers movie, like 1 million people. So, and I had my Austin Powers movie effect when I met Tony Robbins and Peter Diamandis. I think it was Peter who said, like, Sergey, only 1 million? Just go for billion. I mean, it's almost the same effort. So, and I thought, well, changing 1 billion lives, it gives me a completely different perspective. My choice of tool, of impact platforms, like affordability and accessibility aspect of health and longevity should be addressed on completely different level. So I thought, well, that's great. That's a great opportunity to challenge myself. And I'm an insecure overachiever. So I like really unachievable goals, like, you know, and even if I achieve them, it takes me like 30 seconds to enjoy. And then the rest, I'm also, you know, I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with myself. And I'm looking for another big goal.
Okay. And that's how your journey started, right? And progress. And that's how you decided to also start investing into this longevity sector, trying to help as many people as possible. Probably because, you know, also on some level, we all know that we can only do so much for us individually, right? And if we want to reach really big goals, we also want to do it for a lot of other people. And that's when the progress starts really to accelerate. And we have this drive and motivation to get after those goals. Besides, you know, investing into this sector in all the technologies, you decided also to write a book, and you wrote it and you published it, The Science and Technology of Growing Young, the book that I absolutely loved. You know, I even made my parents read it.
Right here.
Yes, right there. Amazing book that we're going to link in the show notes. I highly recommend people to check it out. Again, I already mentioned that it made me dream of possibilities in right now and in the near future. So you gathered all this data from scientists, researchers, entrepreneurs, you know, visionaries, to share with people and give them a glimpse of possible future. What technologies and advancements of that, you know, different technologies are you most excited about that you wrote about, you researched?
So when I think about longevity and longevity innovation, or health and longevity innovation, I really think in terms of the 3 horizons. So one, what we can do now and this is mostly lifestyle changes, but they're important in terms of our ability to change it tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay, they're not really high tech. There are certain components of high tech there, but and majority of them like low tech, like changing the diet, your sleep routine, going through medical checkup. But that's important. So the other horizon is called near horizon of longevity innovation, is what we should expect in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And this is where a majority of my efforts and efforts of Longevity Vision Fund are today. This is our focus. So we are supporting a number of technologies and scientific discoveries in number of fields, and I'll tell you about this. And we already discussed. So this will help us actually to break the sound barrier of 122 years to live longer or much longer than today's 70, 80, 90 years on average. And not only in terms of quantity of years, but also quality of years. We'll discuss that later. And then what I call the far horizon of longevity innovation, we did discuss it in the beginning. It's 25, 50 years from now. And it's more kind of argumentation between, it's like man and machine becoming one. So what are the most exciting things in the near horizon of longevity innovation? And like 2/3 of the book is about different fields and most promising field. So when people ask me that question, I'm always mentioning 3 things. One is gene editing and gene therapy. We already know all 3,000 genes in our DNA, which are responsible for health and longevity and for aging processes in our body. So with development of gene therapy, development of different gene editing technologies, we will be able to amend these genes or silence some of them, switch on, switch off some of them. And therefore, I do believe that we will have an opportunity to influence aging on a genetic level. So this will make us fundamentally different in terms of our ability to live longer, healthier, and happier life. So that's one. Second thing is what I call longevity in the pill. So in 5, 10 years from now, we're going to have completely different category of drugs called longevity drugs, or drugs which will fight age-related diseases as a whole. And it might easily be that it will be drugs which are repurposed. So metformin, the old diabetes drug, is a great example because we've known metformin for the last 60 years. And we just need to have a trial which would test the ability of metformin to become or to be used as longevity drug, which treats not only particular disease like diabetes, which is very dangerous and important for all of us, but will help people to live longer overall on a broader spectrum. Or it can easily be the drug which will be developed with the help of AI. So it's going to be a new drug which will go through the approval process. But in the end of the day, the use of artificial intelligence will help us to compress this drug development cycle and therefore invent and improve the substance, which will help us to extend the productive stage of our life. So that's second piece, longevity in the pill. And third piece for me is regenerative medicine and a part of regenerative medicine called organ regeneration. I do think, and it's similar to the old car metaphor. So you can actually extend the life of the old car just by replacing certain parts. You can even replace an engine.
Yeah,
so
it's like,
the same approach. We will use for human body and mind. And the new organs can be 3D printed. You can use other animals, species to regrow organs, particularly pigs, or you can use our own lymph nodes. regrow organs. 3 years ago, we invested in a company called like Genesis. They based in Pittsburgh, and they use our lymph nodes to regrow livers inside our bodies. And this is the opportunity to help 117,000 people who are on a waiting list today in the US alone, waiting for donor organs. Because one donor liver will help by using like Genesis technology, will help them to assist, save lives, replace organs in 75 patients. So that's an amazing improvement. So again, most exciting are gene editing, gene therapy, longevity and appeal, organ regeneration.
Yeah, these are amazing technologies. And, I find that a lot of people at first kind of like reluctant to believe or to think about the possibility of using all of these technologies. They're like, oh, it's so unnatural, we probably shouldn't like do that, I don't know, growing new organs and then putting it inside of our body. And at some point, I also thought that way, but then I remembered that we already install a lot of things like our teeth, there are implants and people are totally fine with that. And at first it also like felt unnatural, but then everyone got used to the idea and now it feels like the most natural thing on earth. And the same will happen with all these other technologies, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we always start with rejection of new ideas, but then gradually they become part of our life.
Yeah, and exactly. That's why when I read about these new technologies and I tell people about them, and I hear this, doubts or fear about AI also, it's going to kill us. I'm like, but it's all going to be gradual, and they'll figure things out like we always do. And at some point, it's going to be just as natural as, again, going to a dentist. And then, when you give people these examples, they're like, yeah, you might be right. So I'm also very excited, about these innovations and how they're going to develop. But if you were to choose one, like which one are you the most excited about?
So it's less about emotional excitement. It is more about just understanding the fundamental opportunity for the real breakthrough that we can have from this technology. So I would go for gene editing and gene therapy. There's so many diseases and conditions are predetermined or predefined by our genetic setup. So our ability to influence that will come from that. And we will easily be able to almost like produce or create completely different version of humans overall. Obviously, there are a number of ethical concerns and issues that we would need to solve. But like, again, from fundamental perspective, where do I see the biggest potential? It is in the field of gene editing and gene therapy.
Yeah, I think, I would agree with that. And, the next part of our conversation, I'd like to get into this, potential, well, not potential, but these technologies will improve the quality of our lives. They will not just allow us to live longer, but also better. And, a lot of people, when you ask them, like, would you like to live longer? They're like, no, but not because, they don't want to have more years necessarily, but because, people associate more years with extending life when they will be older, but not able to do a lot of things, right? And here I would like to jump into, this concept of chronological and biological age, right? Could you please tell our listeners a little bit more about it? Like, what's the difference and why people should be excited about living longer?
Okay, so, well, let's use me as an example, right? So if you look at my passport, I'm 50 years old, okay? So that means statistically, from the like average person perspective, my body should be functioning like a body of 50 years old. But if you, for example, take my blood test, I'll look at the composition of my blood, the different biomarkers that you can test through the blood test. So my blood is more like a blood of someone who is 43 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's the definition of biological age. So if you look at the index, like a set of my biomarkers that you can measure through the different means, that means that my body is literally like 43 years old. So I have a positive difference. I'm 7 years younger biologically. And for some of the deviations is really like predetermined. We cannot, all of us cannot be exactly the same age as we are chronologically. But at the end of the day, you can influence that. Okay, you can actually sometimes by really simple lifestyle interventions for the short period of time, even you can actually become a younger person, again, measured by a set of biomarkers. So that's why it is important how old are you from chronological perspective. But what is more important, how old or how young is your body and your brain. That's important. And you do a lot of work in brain performance optimization, right? So it's always like mental and physical health always go together in parallel. And the most fascinating study, actually, it's a simple study, but most fascinating study I've seen in this case, and I think this study came out last year in the US. It actually, so for the group of people, they managed to decrease their biological age by 3 years.
Mm-hmm. How did they do it?
In a course of 8 weeks.
Okay.
Can you imagine that? You can be like 3 years younger in the course of 8 weeks. Do you need a lot of money to do that? No. There were like 3 components, 3 fields that they made changes. Physical exercise, diet, and sleep. That's it. Can you imagine that? Just by doing the right things in those 3 fields, I mean, you can be 3 years younger. And this is just the beginning. Again, these are pretty simple lifestyle changes. And I do think science and technology will bring us more and more opportunities to influence that on the different levels. So I'm like, I'm really excited. And that's why I'm a big fan. I love all these technologies and science that we're investing in. But this is going to be available to us in the next 5, 10, 15 years. But there's always something that I can change right now, today or tomorrow. And I'm a huge fan of small changes every day.
Yeah, small changes done consistently can do miracles.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's just so fascinating for me, right? Also that we can feel and look younger by just changing simple daily habits. And in my area of expertise, I take people through 5-day challenge, and I help them to change really simple habits, like around their sleep, light exposure, certain foods, and they are blown away by how much more energy they suddenly feel they have, right? And then also, it usually, if they do it consistently over a longer period of time, it translates in how they feel, how they look, and what they do in their lives, right? And on getting back to the point of biological and chronological age, I also, for me, it's chronological is what's in your passport. Biological is how you feel and look. People I'm 34 years old, but when people meet me, like, are you 20 or something? You have so much excitement and energy. So that's also the difference for me. Like, one is in your passport and one is actually like, if nobody saw your passport, what would they think?
Yeah. And what I like about this whole thing, I mean, it can be pretty cheap, or you can just do it free of charge. Like, it costs nothing or almost nothing to sleep extra 30 to 60 minutes a day.
Yeah, or see, natural light first thing in the morning, right?
Or go to the supermarket and put a lot of vegetables to your basket. And in fact, I've seen a study, I think it was done in the US, the families who were switched to more plant-based diet. It's not about, becoming vegetarian, just, bringing more plants to your diet, saved somewhere around $900 their household expenses. And again, it was compared to simple fast food diets. So it's not, it was not like a family who was just dining in a restaurant every evening.
Yeah, it is really affordable actually when you just organize your life around, when you make the changes, you eliminate all the junk and bring the good stuff in, and you kind of plan it. It's really affordable. We will be able to live much longer, right? We already can live much longer right now. But is it the right thing to do? That's another question that a lot of people ask me. You're, very passionate about longevity and this new concept that you are developing, morality of immortality, right? That you talked about in your recent TED talk. We can live longer, but should we? Could you expand on this a little bit more, please?
Yes. Where do I start? There's one phrase that I always use, which is, we have created technologies to extend our life, but we haven't created life that we want to extend. And that's a huge problem. And when I first started to work in the field of health and longevity through investment perspective, obviously here, what I discovered that it's anywhere between 60 and 80% of people who are not a big fan of extending their lifespan.
60.
And I was shocked. I'm always, a super positive guy. I'm taking every opportunity here and there. But I was really trying to understand what actually prevents people from thinking positive and looking through positive lenses at the opportunity to live longer. And there are a number of things there. One is state of our healthcare, which is expensive, unpredictable, and not efficient, not always efficient. Let me put it this way. This whole model of aging that we have today, which is you're going to be, you would need a lot of support in the last 5 to 10 years of your life. Right? And there's always someone in the family who suffered in the last 5 to 10 years of life, especially through neurodegenerative diseases, but also from so many other diseases as well. People think it's just not possible. It's like a snake oil. And, flying and using planes was not also possible until recently, until probably 100 or 120 years ago. So there are a number of factors which contribute to the very negative view on life extension, on health span extension in this world. So that's kind of one thing. The other thing is we have created this world around us, which are not really kind of optimal for the life and happy and healthy life of human beings, right? And there are a number of concerns that, moral concerns that people have. And you're right, I've done recently a TEDx talk on what I call morality of immortality. What bothers people are this huge sense of inequality, and inequality gap is expanding, right? It's increasing in the world and in the US. Or this whole, sense of purpose in life, why do we need to live longer? Or this whole question of will we have enough resources to support ever growing population of the planet? Or the question of free will, our life extension will depend on us. It's going to be our decision whether we're going to live longer or not. I want to use this treatment, this technology, or this scientific discovery to add few years or a few decades to my life. So in some of the cultures, well, in majority of cultures, this decision will be called suicide. If I will decide not to extend my lifespan, then it's going to be, considered like a playing God. And even if I'm allowed to do this by societal norm, will I have the power to make this decision? Yeah, it's also a problem. And the whole thing is like even our relationship with Mother Nature. Just if you live in 70 years, like 80 years, so I'm like 50, I have another 20 or 30 years on the planet, hypothetically. So I can actually avoid taking responsibility for my relationship with Mother Nature. Plastic in the ocean, it's okay. My kids and grandkids next generations will need to sort it out. But if I'm living 150 years, I'm going to face the consequences of my own actions. Are we ready for that?
Yeah.
And we can go on and on. Do I have like the answers for all these questions? Of course not. But do we need to start this discussion, this kind of global conversation around this whole thing? Oh, yes.
It's like, reminds me also about Elon Musk's concerns about AI. It might cause some danger to humanity. Like we don't exactly know, we don't have the answers, but we need to start talking about that so we don't end up being in a situation that we don't have exit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's similar to like nuclear power, right? I mean, you can use nuclear power to produce electricity and bring this power to like residential areas, and help people to do good things. Or you can create like a nuclear bomb, and it's going to be really bad for the planet. So the same with AI. But what I do know, so I agree with you. We need to start thinking about like AI rules, like how we govern the development of artificial intelligence in this world on one side. On the other side, we humans tend to think about new things in binary terms. So it's either good or bad. It's like AI will fight with human intelligence, and like who will win. So it's all mutually exclusive. While what we see with the development of this thing, they're actually becoming very complementary to ourselves. So I do see the future where human and artificial intelligence will be integrated, will be synergetic, rather than will be mutually exclusive, right, and antagonistic. We already outsource a lot of things to AI, right? Our smartphone stores a lot of data for us, right? Connects us to the world, store our contact book. Like I can barely remember 1 or 2 telephone numbers, and that's it. The rest is done, I'll outsource it to my smartphone. We just use very inefficient interface to communicate with this, right? Using my eyes, ears. But in the end of the day, the future is in more seamless integration, the integration between human brain and artificial intelligence or computer intelligence. And, obviously it's going to be different or completely different version of human beings. This is our part and our contribution to evolution of humans as species.
I think in general, people have fears, a lot of fears, because also of, movies that we see, Matrix kind of movies don't help with that, And then that's the only concept that people have. I also believe that more education will help people to have less fear and more enthusiasm about things. It's like my degree was computer science. So I understand technology a little bit more than an average person. And when somebody starts talking to me about evil AI, I'm like, well, it's not exactly the same. It doesn't have human characteristics. So it's probably not what's going to happen, right? That's why I also believe in, your mission and thought leadership and education, because the more usually people educated are, the more knowledgeable knowledgeable they are about the subject, like longevity, the less fear they have, and the more enthusiasm they have about it, and the more they are willing to accept new things and believe in them. So thank you for doing your work. Technologies, they are amazing. A lot of things are coming in the future. But what about today? We already touched a little bit about, everyday lifestyle choices that people can do to extend their lifespan and to also help themselves, to reach this longevity, escape velocity, when basically keeping themselves in a good enough shape till the day when technology can take over or help a lot. Like, what can people do today? What do you do personally?
Yeah, so I call it, staying on longevity bridge. It's not me. I think it's Ray Kurzweil who wrote it. He defined this concept probably around 10 years ago. So what do I do? When I talk about today, I always talk about 5 longevity buckets, right? And then like 5 things that you would need to do in parallel. And again, it's not like you're just doing kind of one thing and the rest is, unimportant. Human biology and human health are such a complex subjects. So you will barely find one single answer to every problem. So 5 things. 1, doing regular checkups, re-establishing your relationship with healthcare system and with your doctor is extremely important, because early detection of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and this is, these 3 diseases are responsible like 70% of deaths after age of 50 is extremely important, because early detection of cancer, again at early stage, will give you 90 to 100% probability of recovery. Obviously, it does depend on the cancer type and the stage of the cancer, but late stage cancer for some of the cancer types gives you 20 to 30% recovery chances. So there's a huge difference. And also it's a huge difference in terms of the quality of your life post recovery. So that's super important. Second is about bad habits and avoiding making bad choices. So, like tobacco smoking is minus 10 years from your life. Not always using your seat belts is minus 2 years from your life. And some of the things are really risky, like riding motorcycles are 17 times more dangerous in terms of mortality risk than driving a car. So that, it's really simple things. People think, okay, this is not for me. I'm always behaving in a proper way. But I've seen cases when people take really unnecessary risks and risk in their life and health. The third one is about diet, and I think you can tell me more about the healthy diet than what I can offer to our audience with my perspective. But in very simple terms, decreasing the calorie intake by 15 to 20%. It's usually helpful to add few years, healthy and happy years to your life. And the way you do is you can experiment with fasting. You can bring more plants and vegetables to your diet. I'm a big fan of plant-based diet. Again, I'm not vegetarian, but I decrease the amount of meat and fish that I consume. Also working on the quality, not only quantity of the food that you consume is extremely important, specifically in the US, when we have plenty of unhealthy choices in terms of the sourcing for our own table or in the restaurants. Number 4 is using your wearable to track 10,000 steps a day, and it's a great baseline. So if you will be doing at least 10,000 steps a day, that's great. That's a great platform. And then on top of it, you can add whatever you want: yoga and stretching, weightlifting, strength training. Cardio is necessary, like 90 minutes of cardio every week is extremely important, done in 2 or 3 days. So that's more like a physical activity. And number 5 is what I call a peace of mind. So whatever contributes to your mental health, like sleep, my rule is 8 hours in a bed, which is 7 hours of sleep time. That's important for me. Meditation and mindfulness practices are good to decrease our cortisol level and it's supporting our hormonal balance. And finally, just having a sense of purpose and give more than you take, helping others to become winners, and simply just being a good, grateful person, doing more for people around you rather than for yourself usually helps.
Yeah. And I also am very excited, about this last piece of developing, your social connections and developing the mental side of things, the attitude of gratitude and helping others. And also mental mindset, right? It's hugely important. There have been quite a few studies that came out in neuroscience magazines about how mindset actually can influence our physical health, right? Because mental models, we have thoughts and emotions, they create certain biochemistry in our body that gives signals to all of the cells in our body about our environment. What's happening. Is it welcoming and kind out there or hostile, and we should buckle up, and stress ourselves or prepare us to fight or flight, right? So mindset, it's huge. And again, more and more research right now is coming out about that. I'm just very excited about this whole area.
Just to add to that, there's a last chapter in the book, and again, the book called "The Science and Technology of Growing Young." It's called a bonus chapter, and it goes through 10 longevity choices that you can make today.
My favorite chapter, by the
way. Same here. And one of the parts of this chapter called "Think and Grow Young." So it is about the connection between your own psychology or psychological choices or emotional choices and your physical health, and it's enormously, two of them are enormously interconnected.
Yes, and what I also, love to talk about these days a lot about is emotions. Our emotional states and thought patterns, they're not random and come from nowhere. We can actually choose them. We can actually, change our environment, connections in our life, people in our life, like the things that we expose ourselves to, like social media, videos, books, pictures, and that all will shape that emotional and mental environment. And it's going to change us from mental state, and then will play into our biology. So we actually are in much more control over our emotions and thoughts that we think we are. I
agree.
That's I also believe it's very, very powerful. Let's get back a little bit to foods and supplements. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a huge fan of all food-related things. Do you have any of your favorite pro-longevity foods and supplements that you eat and take on a regular basis?
It's an easier question for supplements, and it's more difficult question for food, because food is I'm trying to bring more diversity to my food choices, right? Because diversified, well-balanced diet is like the best way forward. Otherwise you just stick to 5 or 10 superfoods, and your body really doesn't really receive the nutritional mix that you need. So food-wise, actually, my favorite metaphor is having a rainbow of vegetables on your plate. So to combine as many colors of plants or vegetables that you can bring to your table is really important. So that's on food side. Supplements, I am so what I'm taking regularly, and on my website 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐶om, you can find actually 10 longevity supplements infographics, and there are more infographics there as well. So I'm taking omega-3 every day. like the most concentrated version that I can have. It actually tends to lower my cholesterol level quite significantly. I'm taking vitamin D on a daily basis. So that's important. One, we need to be careful with vitamin D because it's if you break the maximum level, the upper limit, it can be toxic. So I would advise, even for the simple supplement choices, I would advise people to see their doctor and design their own like a supplement routine, or speak to your nutritionist. But then vitamin D, I think we all need that, because not all of us have a luxury of living in Mexico or in Florida and enjoy every day, every sunny day. What else? I'm big fan of seaweed, so I have like 6 different seaweeds on rotation. Like every month I would take like a different kind of seaweed. Because of my high level of cholesterol is predetermined by the work of my liver. So I'm taking milk thistle for rotation. Again, in rotational way, it's good for your liver health. What else? In longevity supplements, I'm recently, in the last year, probably in a year and a half, I'm taking NMN.
Yeah, very popular.
I kind of like the effect of NMN on my body and my mental health as well. So that's probably, I'm trying to take fiber, but the best fiber you can find in plants. So it's I don't think you necessarily you would kind of need to take it in the form of supplements if you can take it in the form of plants.
Yeah, it's great supplement routine, and also a great nutrition principle. I always tell people, if you want to get as many vitamins and minerals and all the important compounds in your diet for your health, just go for variety, as much as possible. And it will also prevent all the possible side effects of having too much of something, Don't just, and variety for me, it also goes, I don't know if you agree, but it doesn't just go for plant foods. It also goes for animal foods. So I rotate animal foods, today like eggs, tomorrow, I don't know, chicken liver, the day after mussels, then something else. And just, this principle of variety will give people a really great nutritional boost, but then also will prevent possible side effects of having too much of anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so totally agree on that. You're in a good place of speaking as a nutritionist. We are coming to an end of our podcast, Sergey, and I'd like to ask you a couple of parting questions.
Yeah.
We know that you're passionate about longevity and healthy lifestyle and longevity technologies. If you had a giant billboard, installed somewhere so everybody could see it to spread the most important message that you think is important right now, what would you write on that billboard?
Okay. What I will do, I'll just write there, like, we're all going to be living longer than we expect. It's time to take back control of health and longevity, right? Okay. Think about this. We delegated so many health choices to other parties and other people. I'm not saying you need to become an MD, right? Yeah. To do that, but you just need to be part of these conversations. We delegated this to insurance companies, healthcare system, hospitals, doctors, big food, government, big tech as well. So you just need to be part of this conversation. And again, not necessarily in a driving seat, but it's our responsibility to make informed choices about our own health. And I do think it's important.
Yeah, I also think that's very important to understand a little bit more about our health and how our choices impact that health and longevity. So yeah, great message. I'm on board with that. Any parting thoughts, messages to our audience that you have, maybe additional to what?
Yeah, I mean, like, some people think that, taking care of health is an obligation. It's like liability. I actually think it's an asset. And I think the world of our own health, what influences our health, the world of human biology is such a fascinating world. So what I would like to encourage our audience to do is just start this journey of discovering what influences your health, right? What works best for you? What are the different bits and pieces? What are the different dimensions you need to discover to become a healthier and happier version of yourself? And it can be really enjoyable and interesting. And you'll find so many fascinating facts and things which would add energy and health and happiness to your life.
Yeah, it's such an amazing opportunity, right? That we have all these choices and we can change how we feel every day by those choices. And yeah, it is an asset that we can make ourselves feel better. So yeah, I love this. So Sergey, thank you very much for your work. First of all, for spreading this information, for doing the research, for learning and then sharing it. Thank you for your book, for your investment in longevity sector, trying to help billion people to live longer and healthier. So thank you for all of that. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you to learn more about your work, right? So where are the best places to find you? Social media and websites, etc.
Yeah. So the best thing to stay connected is sign up for our newsletters. So go to 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐞 and sign up for newsletters. Every month we send out the digest of different scientific facts and research.
I'm getting that.
In a very simple way. Yeah. So that's one. Second, you can read the book, again, called The Science and Technology of Growing Young. It became very popular, Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller, #1 on Amazon in a few categories. So this is a great intro to the world of longevity. And on social media, it's 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐯𝐞, 1000 yet, Angela, but 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐯𝐞 for Instagram and Twitter.
Okay, and we're gonna link all of that in the show notes, so it's easier for listeners.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes. So thank you again, Sergey, for all your work. And I wish you all the luck with your mission to help more than 1 billion of people. And we'll stay connected.
Thanks, Angela. Thanks, everyone. Stay happy and healthy, please.
Yes.